Hi guys, Mrnewmobile here. The iPad Pro release date, price, and specs. Please subscribe followed by the bell. You can also keep up on Facebook, Twitter by clicking the links in the description. The iPad Pro 2020 landed in March of last year, which means a new model could be imminent, and we've heard a number of rumors about it. You'll find everything we've heard so far, including information on the possible screen, specs, design, and features, and while we don't know exactly when it will land yet, we've also included details of the possible release date and price. From 5G to a mini LED screen, there could be a lot of upgrades in the 2021 iPad Pro. Our best guess for when the iPad Pro 2021 will launch in March, like its predecessor launched in March of 2020. Specifically, it was unveiled on March 18th and went on sale a day later, so we might see something similar this year. Leaks support that, with two sources claiming that the slate will land in the first quarter of the year, while a third specifically says March. We've also since heard March a second time. Our best guess for a date is March 23rd, as it's rumored that Apple's spring event will happen then. And the iPad Pro has been mentioned as a likely inclusion. That said, another leak suggests that components for the display may not enter production until the end of March or later, which might mean the tablet doesn't arrive quite by then. Either way, though the first half of the year looks very likely. There's no news on what the iPad Pro 2021 might cost. The previous model started at $799 for an 11-inch model, or $999 for a 12.9-inch one. So the iPad Pro 2021 might come in at a similar price display. There's one rumor that we've heard more than any other about the iPad Pro 2021, and that's that it will have a mini LED screen. This is a type of LCD screen, but one that offers improved contrast ratio and color reproduction over standard LCD displays. It's also less likely to suffer screen burn-in than OLED, which is currently the display type of choice on high-end phones. We first heard that the iPad Pro 2021 might have a mini LED display back in April 2020, and that rumor has popped up multiple times since then, with one source saying this display tech will enter production either at the end of the first quarter of 2021 or in the second quarter. This then is looking very likely. However, one source reckons that while there will apparently be both 12.9-inch and 11-inch iPad Pro 2021 models, only the larger of them will use mini LED. That's a claim we've now heard more than once. We've also heard though that following these mini LED slates, another iPad Pro could land before the end of the year with an OLED screen. Putting out that many iPad Pros in 1 year though would be an odd move, and other sources have suggested that mini LED is the end goal rather than a stepping stone on the road to OLED. One other source does mention OLED, but suggests that these models won't land until 2022, which seems more likely if it happens at all. That claim has now been echoed elsewhere too, with a source saying the 2021 iPad Pro will have a mini LED screen, with Apple considering OLED for 2022 design. While there might be significant changes to the display for the iPad Pro 2021, it sounds like the design might not be undergoing such an overhaul. The renders below may provide a crude look at the design. These were supplied to Mrnewmobile by a trusted source and show thinner bezels than the iPad Pro 2020 has, along with squared-off edges, a squarish camera module on the back, and a power button on the top edge. The source also suggests that the slate has quad speakers and a magnetic port to charge the Apple Pencil, just like its predecessor. So from this it sounds like the design is being tweaked, but nothing more. And another source has suggested similar, stating that the lens glass will now be flush with the camera protrusion, and that the number of speaker holes has been reduced by 2/3. But that the design will otherwise be similar. The lack of a design change is something that new leaks are specifically stating, though they additionally claim that the iPad Pro 12.9 2021 will be 0.5 mm thicker than its predecessor, which would make it 6.4 mm thick. Camera, specs, and features. We don't know too much about the iPad Pro 2021's specs yet. When it comes to the camera, the renders above show a dual lens, one with a LiDAR scanner, which is in line with the current model. We've also heard that the iPad Pro 2021 might have an A14 Bionic chipset like the iPhone 12 range, and support 5G, which would be a first for Apple's tablet range. That said, a more recent leak suggests the iPad Pro 2021 could have an even more powerful chipset that's on par with the M1 chip in Apple's latest Macs. One leak seems to imply it won't have the M1's battery efficiency though. And looking beyond the iPad Pro 2021 itself, Apple might be planning to launch a new Magic Keyboard alongside it. That theory comes from the existence of several patents for tweaked versions of the device, one of which shows touch-sensitive strips in place of a trackpad, along with a microphone and vibration sensors. Those sensors would be able to sense gestures made on a surface the iPad was placed on, for example a swipe across a table, and sense the force used to press keyboard buttons, allowing for a different input based on how much pressure was used. However, as always with patents, we'd take these with a pinch of salt, as very often nothing comes of them. The final leak we've seen so far is on a next-gen Apple Pencil that may be an accessory you can buy alongside the iPad Pro 2021. The source, who has been accurate on Apple iPad leaks in the past, includes a photo that shows a glossy Apple Pencil with a longer tip than we've seen on previous stylus from the company. Exactly why that tip may be longer is currently unclear, but it may be that this is for additional features Apple will announce on the iPad Pro 2021. We had expected a new iPad Pro to launch at an event on March 23, 2021, after multiple leakers indicated that Apple intended to hold an event on that day. However, it seems that Apple was misleading the leakers and their source based on this tweet from John Prosser. While Prosser and co. were anticipating a March launch date, others were more general in their predictions, simply indicating that there would be a launch in the spring. For example, the usually reliable analyst Ming-Chi Kuo published an investor note indicating spring 2021 is when to expect the updated iPad Pro. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman wrote in a March 2021 report that Apple plans to announce new iPads as early as April. As with every new generation, the 2021 alumni will no doubt arrive sporting the latest in Apple chip technology. When the current iPad Pros were released, they surprised many by the inclusion of the A12Z processors, which was the first time we'd seen the Z suffix. This could now be the designation given to the Pro range, so we may see an A13Z, although the attention given to the A14 chips when the iPhone 12 came along, chips which we described as revolutionary, makes us think that an A14X might be better from a pure marketing perspective, but it could be more than an improvement to the A14. According to a March 17 Bloomberg report, the new iPad Pro will have a processor that's on par with the fastest M1 chip in the M1 MacBooks and Mac Mini. Whatever chips Apple chooses to use, you can be sure they will offer some of the best performance around. As we've seen from the blazingly fast current iPad Pros, this would apparently be faster than the USB-C and found in the current iPad Pro models. The port will look exactly the same, so all cables will be backward compatible. There's been plenty of speculation over the possibility that Apple could not only introduce 5G capabilities into the iPhone 12 models, but also into the next iPad Pro cellular models. This would allow users to take advantage of the faster network data services that are now being rolled out. Face ID is great, but some people prefer the tactile nature of Touch ID. Plus, it doesn't require an array of special cameras too. Up until now, the inclusion of Touch ID on a device has also necessitated a physical button area for the fingerprint sensor, but as other manufacturers like Samsung, Xiaomi, and Huawei are proving, you can now embed them underneath the display. That is all the latest leaks we heard about the iPad Pro 2021. What features would you like to see in iPad Pro? Let me see your comment below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like the video, comment. Thanks for watching. See you on my next video. Peace out.